Good afternoon and welcome to the judges, teachers, guests, and participants of FRSIS 2022. Now, I'd like to introduce our judges today. The Chief Judge is Associate Professor Dr. Haliza binti Harun, Senior Lecturer, University Science Islam Malaysia. The second judge is Ms. Salmia Hani binti Siddiq from Sekolah Menengah Sains Hulu Selangor. And the third judge is Ms. Shafiza binti Sharif from Sekolah Menengah Sains Tuanku Aisyah Rohani. And I am Amirul Hakim bin Kamal Zaman from Sekolah Dato' Abdul Razak, while the timekeepers are Madania bin Zafrul Azmi and Muhammad Adam Aiman bin Faizal are from Sekolah Dato' Abdul Razak. Now, allow me to read the rules. Each team should consist of presenters and a technical assistant. The presentation must focus on the sub-theme assigned to the team. The duration of the presentation should not be more than 10 minutes. The bell will be rung once at the 9th minute and twice at the 10th minute. A question and answer session will be conducted after each presentation. Let us invite the first team from Magtuod High School.
Hapon sa inyong tanan.
I'm Rene.
I'm Arjean.
And
And we are the researchers from Magtuod National High School, Philippines, Davao City. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused abrupt and profound changes around the world. This is the worst shock to education system in decades, when the longest school closures combined with a looming recession. What are we going to do for these students that have lost so much learning during the pandemic? In line with the theme averting a lost COVID generation, the challenges. The question posits, how are we going to avert or prevent in the near future a lost generation of learners? Should there be pandemics like the coronavirus? Hence, we researchers initiated Making Up for the Lost Time, Self-Pacing and the Face-to-Face Modality in the Transition of Learning. The COVID 19 pandemic had and continues to impact students' lives negatively, and this has created the largest disruption of education system in human history. This global crisis caused an abrupt change in formal schooling and alarmingly halted Philippine education for 2 long years, ultimately leading to difficulty in proper transition of learning. In a global sense, the United Nations expressed in preventing a learning crisis from becoming a generational catastrophe requires urgent action from everyone. In the same manner, in the Philippines, from the modular to face learning shift, students' self pacing poses a challenge to the educational system. In general context, the transition of learning refers to three major transitional points in the public education system: when students move from elementary to middle school, from middle school to high school, and from high school to college. But in the context of our research, transition of learning is the transition from modular learning modality and modular to face modality or traditional learning.
Thank you, Ashley, for that wonderful introduction. And now for our research question. Our study aimed to discover and understand student challenges and self-pacing strategies in the transition of learning. Specifically, number one, what are the challenges encountered by the students in the face-to-face modality? Number two, how are the students coping with these challenges through self-pacing in terms of time management, goal setting, and student technique? And lastly, what are the recommendations to improve student self-pacing in the transition of learning?
In this slide, we present to you our theories where our research is anchored. The first two are for self-pacing and the last two are for transition of learning. Firstly, according to this theory, the learner exercises a great deal of independence in deciding what is worthwhile to learn and how to approach the learning task. The next one stated that students move from being dependent on others to self-direction as they mature. The third one studies the academic outcome of the students in transition phase. Lastly, it focuses on the idea that learners can adjust their thinking based on new information.
Methodology. For our research design, we use qualitative case study. For our research local, public secondary high school in Davao City, Philippines. For respondents, 10 senior high school students through purposive sampling by a given set of criteria. For research instrument, we utilize interview questions or interview guide and conduct telemedicine. For research analysis, we utilize thematic analysis wherein we thoroughly reviewed, summarized, and organized the results of our interviews.
For our data gathering procedures, we identify the experience of the students. We conduct focus group discussion and in-depth interview among the participants. We categorize challenges, techniques, and recommendations. And lastly, we analyze the information that we gathered.
And now for our result and conclusion. Challenges encountered by the students in the face-to-face modality. First, lack of knowledge. Student lack of knowledge emerged as the first challenge that the students encountered. All teachers estimated that their students were behind in their curriculum learning compared to where they would normally expect them to be. This insufficient knowledge was due to the almost halted education which lasted for 2 years, where self-learning modules were given. Second, unexpected transition of learning. The rapid transition to a distance learning from modular to face-to-face modality. This is a good sign that the pandemic is coming to an end. The shift from modular distance learning to face-to-face learning entailed certain disadvantages such as being unaccustomed and pressured in doing class reporting, inadequacy in spoken written English, and not being skilled enough in constructing academic essay and recitation. And third, poor time management. Student difficulty in managing time emerged as a challenge as they lack self-discipline and were used to procrastinate. And I know one of you all also procrastinate. And lastly, academic pressure. As students experience the pressure of unexpected transition of learning, lack of knowledge, and the pressure of having a poor time management, this pressure also leads to stress, which can be categorized into two. One, external pressure that the students encounter from their parents and teachers, and internal pressure are pressure that eventually leads the students into depression and anxiety.
To answer the second question, self-pacing coping strategies are utilized by the students. Results showed time management, goal setting, and student techniques as indicators. First, according to the students, the best strategy for time management and self-pacing was to be responsible on managing time and setting priorities. As such, maintaining an up-to-date calendar or to-do list. And setting priorities can help to avoid stress from having too much schoolwork. Moreover, students shared that setting goals signifies committing one's thoughts, feelings, and actions in achieving the goal. And the ideal step is mental preparation, planning, action, and motivation reward system. And lastly, students also shared their self-pacing techniques, which are setting smaller goals, such as realistic goals, giving reminders such as verbal and visual reminders, as Pomodoro technique. This technique is a time management system that encourages people to work with the time they have rather than against it. And the last one is taking self-pacing as a challenge to efficiently maintain focus.
To answer the third questions, here are the recommendations for improved student self-pacing in the transition of learning. The first category is maintaining focus, taking lessons seriously, strict self-management, self-discipline, and manage responsibilities. Second, strict self-management, having self-discipline and manage responsibilities to have higher academic performance. And third, various and engaging techniques to be employed by teachers for students to be entertained and remembered lessons more efficiently. For fourth, improved learning environment. Students atten- learning environment increases students' attention and focus promotes meaningful learning experiences, encourages higher level of student performance and motivates students to practice higher level critical thinking skills. And for fifth, technology utilization. Since teenagers use this open platform to share information, communication, and construction of their cyber identity. For six, getting assistance. Understanding your unique skills and weaknesses as well as knowing when you require assistance. And that also the two aspect of self-awareness. Self-awareness is acknowledging that you need help and self-advocacy is asking for it. And lastly, the negative to positive substitution. Most of the students don't like studying. In order for them to continue to study even if they don't want to, they use other people around them to motivate and help them.
Encountered by the students are lack of knowledge, the unexpected transition of learning from modular to face modality, poor time management, and academic pressure. For self pacing strategies are number one, time management. Our students are being responsible and setting their own schedule. Number two, goal setting, where students do mental preparation, planning, taking action, and reward system. And number three, student technique, where students do set realistic goals, giving reminders, and being focused. The recommendations for improved student self pacing in the transition of learning are maintaining focus, strict self management, various and engaging techniques and activities, improved learning environment, technology utilization, getting assistance, and lastly, the substitution of negativity to positivity.
For our recommendation, we recommend self-pacing to the following: Department of Education, school heads, students, teachers, parents and guardians, and last, our future researchers.
Here's our references if you want to look further. Once again, we are the researchers from Magtuod National High School, Philippines. Terima kasih, Kirana Mendingar. Thank you for listening. We are now entertaining questions.
What a thought-provoking presentation from Magtuod National High School. I think it's time for the Q&A session, right, Gazi?
course, Ami- of course, Amirul, the
Hello.
Q&A session will now take place. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah and a very good afternoon. My name is Faris Adil from Sekolah Dato' Abdul Razak. As you said earlier, one of your solutions is to tell the students to stay focused. May I know one of the how can we focus in class?
According to our results, it shows that students can maintain their focus by taking it as a challenge, and that's a unique result of our research. Also, with the techniques provided by the student, such as Pomodoro technique, it can help students to maintain their focus and efficiently use their time. And that's all. Thank you.
Hello, hi. I have a question. In your describing students' challenges in your study, which one is more overwhelming to the students, whether they are external or internal factors? Thank you.
I beg your pardon. Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Based in your studies just now, in facing students' challenges, right? There are two factors that you mentioned where you elaborated quite extensively. There are two. One is external factors. Second is internal factors. So based on your study, which one is more overwhelming to the students?
The most overwhelming in that is the external pressure, where the students encountered the pressure from their parents and teachers, where the parents and teacher could not, the students could not meet the expectation that the parents and teachers that they are expecting.
To clearly explain, the external pressure is the one that causes the students to more be pressured, which is the expectation from teachers and parents, because their expectation is way too high for the students to reach. Because of this pandemic, we can't reach that as a student too, and that's very pressure to me as a student too.
With the Q&A session completed, that concludes the session for the afternoon. Thank you, Magtuod National High School, Philippines.